And while it's not showing up here, it's showing up here. So yeah, we are live. And again, it's 4 minutes after 11 o'clock. And if anyone knows me, I am punctual. Ask my wife; she knows. So yeah, I wanted to bring some content on a regular basis, and I wanted to bring it from really powerful professionals. And Dan Merlino is one of those guys who I've known over the years, being in the industry, as just a steady Eddie. I mean, he's consistent. I've got a lot of good things to say, but I'm not going to say it all. I'm going to let him do some talking. Dan, welcome back to the program here.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And although title's not the most interesting subject, it's crucial to what we do, as you know. And we'll discuss some of the things that can get done to move transactions along. But look, I've been doing this a long time. I love this industry, and I love working with you guys.
Yeah, and so Dan Merlino, being in title, yeah, it's probably not the most sexy area of the real estate transaction, but it is absolutely necessary to close a deal. So first off, just share with us what's been going on since the last time we spoke. You guys were doing curbside, in your car in the parking lot closings. What's changed, if anything? What's been going on? What do you see going on in the market as far as traffic, transactions, and all that stuff?
Sure. We, as I discussed last time, Eric, we on the title side are a lagging indicator. And basically what that means is we don't really see what's the effects of the market until about 2 to 3 weeks after a contract is written. So we really, when COVID really hit in the beginning of March to mid-March, we really didn't see a downturn in business, believe it or not, because we were still running through files that were opening up in January and February. And those were strong months. I mean, January and February were very strong, both on the purchase side and the refinance side. And so we were humming along, doing more business year over year than we did in 2019, thinking that it was going to be another great year coming into the spring market, as we all were gearing up for, and then COVID-19 hit. So we were still busy through that time, and in fact, we were still closing files in our office in mid-March, all the way up probably till towards the end of March. Doing it at that time, if you remember, they weren't, the CDC was not requiring face masks, believe it or not, but we had everybody wear gloves, we were disinfecting. And then at the point as it got more scary, we sort of moved and transitioned and figured out, well, how are we going to still move the real estate transaction along, keeping not only our employees safe on the inside, but also our clients, our realtors, our lenders, our buyers, sellers, or sellers' attorneys. So, we all came together in the attorney community, really in the northern counties, specifically really, I would say Essex, Hudson, Bergen, Passaic, in those counties where we've been hit pretty hard with cases.
Sure.
So we really have been pushing, and everyone has is towards the curbside closing process, and it's been working out great. We are continuing to do that, and how that works is basically your buyers come to the parking lot of our office. All of our closers are set up outside, and prior to the closing time, when they come to our office to sign the documents, our attorney clients are going through the mortgage package. So we are emailing a copy to the client. We're emailing a copy to the attorney. They are connecting via platforms like this, Skype, whatever they use, FaceTime, Zoom, platform like this, and they're going through the package remotely. So by the time they get to our office, really all they're doing is signing the documents, and we have everything highlighted. So it's not a long process to be at our office to sign the documents. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. During this entire time, for the last 8 weeks, the New Jersey legislature, through executive order of Governor Murphy, has allowed remote signings, meaning a notary can sign a document remotely. So that sort of is a game changer in those situations where the closing has to be done that way. It's called a remote ink notarization, and it's different from a remote online notarization. There's a lot of confusion between the two, Eric, and they are drastically different. The bill has been passed for remote online notarization. The governor has allowed a remote ink notarization right now during this COVID time. And what the RIN, or remote ink notarization, means is that the client can sign the document via a portal like this, FaceTime, whatever. I, as a notary, can witness them. I get a copy of their ID through this platform. I got you're recording here. I'm guessing we have to keep a recording of those signatures of our interaction when they're signing the document, and then they overnight it. So we email the package to them. So we're essentially signing the same document. They're going to overnight it back to me. I'm going to wet signature that document. So it's all still wet signatures. It's not done remotely on a online portal. Whereas remote online notarization, which will happen in New Jersey and it will be an option, it's just the counties aren't set up for that right now. And the underwriters have approved vendors. And the big difference is there's no wet signature. Everything is done on an online portal remotely.
So let me ask you this: as a title producer of title insurance,
right?
Is that something we want, or is that something we don't want? It creates more liability and the need for possible, or the present challenges.
I mean, look, there's always a big issue, and it's been a topic ever since nationally states have allowed remote throughout the country. There's about half the country has already implemented them. I think 35 states, over half. So there's always an issue with fraud, as there is an issue with fraud in any type of document signing notarization process.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to allow us to have the option to utilize it. I think it's a good thing. Do I think it's going to be the norm where buyers and sellers aren't going to want to get together, or at least the seller's attorney get together, and the buyers physically come to the office to sign the documents and grab those keys? Do I envision that happening? No, not anywhere in the near term, I think. But I think the fact that it can be an option, and that as we move forward and as each county allows the remote online notarization and they approve the portals that are being used, that are already authorized by our underwriter community, that we can see more of those type of signings happening over time. But I still believe that people are going to want to, especially as a buyer, you want to go and have a formal, commitment and grab your keys at a closing table. I could be wrong. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
I think as far as clients are concerned, they just want the easier, softer way. I don't think they're really concerned. And as far as we're concerned, I think we just want to get paid. We want things to go down. We want them to go down quickly and get me the check. Let's get out of here. I mean, let's face it. Closing gifts, and most of our focus is on the client and the care of the client prior to that point. And when the closing starts to happen and the closing agents are involved, I kind of take a step back. When I show up to closings, and I still show up to a few closings, I step back and let it all happen. Smile, So I think that whatever's easier for the process to smooth out the process, I think is welcome on our part.
Yeah, and there's also some lenders are offering a hybrid process where a lot of clients are signing a lot of lender documents already prior to closing in order to get approvals. And so some lenders are allowing that to also be done for the day of closing documents to be signed outside of the note and the mortgage and one or two other documents. Okay. So I think that hybrid process is really great, because the client is signing those documents. Sometimes you can walk into a closing, Eric, and the mortgage package is 150 pages, 200 pages. If a majority of that can get signed prior to the day we sit down at the table, and all we're signing at the closing table is the note, the mortgage, the affidavit of title and a couple of other documents, we're done in 10 to 15 minutes as opposed to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we'll probably see more of that.
Good. And so on our end, we have seen a spike in activity in that it seems like there's a lot less listings, a lot less inventory. I saw one report, it was 27% down from the previous year. I saw another report, 34%. So let's just call it 30. We'll split the difference, right? And 30% less inventory than the year before, and yet buyers are out in full force.
Right.
So what do you see on your end?
Well, it's interesting that you just mentioned those numbers, Eric, because I can tell you at our company, we do a large volume of transactions throughout the whole entire state of New Jersey. And our volume year over year is down about 35%. So we're right in line, and we are a large purchase operation, meaning a majority of our business has always been the purchase side. We're not a big refinance shop, they call where we focus on refinance, although we do a lot of them. Sure. Because of our volume, but we focus on the purchase work. So that's why I think our numbers are in line with what you just said in terms of where the numbers are at in New Jersey in terms of between 27 and 35%, because we're down year over year. So that makes sense to me. That's what we're seeing, although I am seeing it is starting to get busier in the last 2 weeks, meaning like I'm seeing the number of orders increase week over week. And I take a look at, there's a website that I've been looking at that's has a great COVID graph that shows you the showing time, like showings. And, it finally crossed the peak where showings were down. If you go back to March 16th, 19th, it was negative 80% or 65% week over week. And then it slowly creeped back up into positive territory. And now we're at the same amount of showings now. It's crossed over to where we were last year. So, and look, I know that's not to a science in terms of the overall total in New Jersey, but it gives you sort of a snapshot and some positive information about, the more showings, as you know, Eric, I mean, the more opportunities there are in contracts, whereas the more opportunities there are for a deal to come across my desk, right? To get under contract.
Right. So what is something you can share with us? I mean, I when I was preparing for this call, I thought, well, what kind of story or anecdote can I bring to the table? And with respect to you and your company, it's always been a situation where you're like, hey, if you can use us, suggest us to your attorneys. And I've never really, from a listing standpoint, I said, well, I don't really get it. Just mention it to the attorneys. A lot of attorneys know our company. You're, I think, the largest title company in the state. And that's okay. And it never really occurred to me the importance of title, because I wasn't working with buyers. And let's face it, real estate agents don't really consider title that much, right? Usually it's a friend of an attorney or a family member of an attorney who's pulling title. And I was representing a seller. We closed, I don't know when we closed. We closed on this a week and a half ago. And as you know, Dan, and any of the agents watching this, it's usually the attorney for the buyer who orders title. So representing the seller, both myself and our attorney, Mitch Melnikoff, we had nothing to do with the pulling title. But the title company for the buyer couldn't get the title done. You stepped in. We wouldn't let that deal die, and Mitch suggested that attorney call you, and he did. But can you give us a little backstory on what was the challenge and how did you overcome it when another title company couldn't? Because I think, as an agent, if any agents watch this is critical, and this is worth the price of admission. Go.
Yeah, so no, Eric, I appreciate it, and this is a great example of the relationship that you as an agent should have with your title affiliate, your title person that you work with, because especially in times like this where things have changed so drastically, so fast, where we've been having to adjust in the way that we conduct the real estate closing process and preparing our title commitments. Because a pandemic like this happens, the county shuts down. Well, where do we get our title search work from? Is every county records hall. And when they shut down, what do we do? So we were able to, once this happened and the county shut down, we were utilizing the online portals that each county allows individuals to have access to. Now, not only title companies, anybody can go into a county website and search their records online. The problem with that is those online records only go back to 2001. And when we conduct a title search, we have to search back 60 years. So that only gets us back to 2001. So we still have another 40 years to go. And that's why I think in the last session I had mentioned if everyone out there in the realtor community could help not only myself on the title, but all other title agencies, is to get copies of your title policy. Because during this process, when the county shut down, if we can get a copy of the prior title policy that your seller hopefully has or has a copy of, and or their attorney, then we're able to fill in the gaps of the search to get the title commitment ready to close and the bank to accept. Not one lender is going to accept a title commitment that the underwriter is not going to insure without exception. So we need to fill in those gaps. What happened in this case is Mitch Melnikoff, our attorney who represented your seller in this case, I was not involved at all. The buyer's attorney had ordered title from a competitor, and the competitor told the buyer's attorney, look, we can't move forward because Passaic County is closed. Mm. Well, I've always ever since COVID hit, have expressed how we are doing everything possible to move the transaction forward on the title side. And that's utilizing our search community, utilizing our own databases, utilizing our underwriters' databases to get copies of title policies to close the gap, and also thinking outside the box and, well, how are we going to close a file if we don't have the full search and we need to move the transaction forward? There's a way to do it, and one of those ways is to convince your underwriter to hold an escrow based upon the factors in the particular deal. This title agency took the stance that, look, Passaic County is closed. We are not able to move forward. So I reached out. Mitch introduced me to the buyer's attorney, who also is a client of ours, believe it or not, in our Hackensack office. And although he didn't order with us, he ordered with this other agency. He said, look, Dan, if you guys are able to do it, let's move forward. So I went to our underwriters. I told them the situation. I had a title policy, but I still had a gap of about 6 or 7 years, okay, where I wasn't able to search because the title policy only went back to the 90s. And so I convinced our underwriter to hold an escrow in the amount of the new mortgage that the buyer is taking. So the seller had to hold back that amount in escrow. And once the county opens, which in fact for Passaic County, and I'm going to segue into this, Passaic County opens today for the search community. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to search that gap of 7 years, make sure that there was no outstanding liens or encumbrances filed there. We get the okay, and we're going to refund the seller their funds that we held in escrow. So it took a couple of extra steps, Eric, which, I'm unsure as to why that other agency did not want to do that, but we are very aggressive in trying to help our clients, move the transaction forward despite not being able to fully search the property in this environment. So that was a great opportunity for us to work on a deal where, Mitch didn't even have control over the title. It was the buyer's attorney, but he, because of the relationship, and Mitch knows that, we're really trying to work hard to move transactions forward. He reached out and we were able to get it done.
Well, you're moving them forward, period. It's not, you're moving them forward. So that's and we're grateful to that. Give me a last bit of words that you can impart um, on the agents watching this, or anybody for that matter. People don't realize that if you're going to buy a home, you pay for the title, right? You pay for title insurance, and I think I paid nearly $3,000 for title insurance on my home. And what we do as home owners or buyers of real estate is we connect with our agent. The agent connects us sometimes with an attorney, or we have our own attorney. The attorney reviews the contract, and at some point in the process, during the process, they say, okay, we're at the right point, let's order title. And as a consumer, we don't think about that, right? Title insurance is the same with your company as it is with Brand X, right? It's a standard fee.
Yep. Yeah, it's all standard. It's all regulated.
Right. It's all regulated. You need it. You want it. You don't want to spend the money, but you want it, right? What happens if there's something? It ensures that the title is going to be clean, right? And we never think about that. But is it outrageous to suggest, Dan, that a home buyer can start thinking about that and saying, you know what? When they talk to their attorney, hey, call this guy. This is who I want you to. You, as the homeowner, should be able to decide who pulls your title, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, the buyer, Eric, does purchase the title insurance, and the attorney community represents our buyers and our sellers, and every attorney has their own favorite title person. And what I would say is that if you're involved in a transaction, and especially in our relationship with your office, Eric, and letting this attorney know when they have a buyer that we have a relationship, and if there's anything that we can do to help move the transaction along, like I discussed earlier, and there's a direct connection with us. And what I want to highlight is that connection means, like, all of our experience that we have are, I want to say, leverage, just because we do a large volume with our underwriters, our search communities, to get files processed quickly. I know that's always a big thing. Well, how fast can you get title done? Well, the answer is it depends, right? I could get a title commitment produced in one day. Obviously not right now in this environment, in a normal environment, if a client of mine needed that done. So it's our relationship with the search community where I can say to my searcher in Passaic, Essex, Hudson, Morris, hey, I need this one like this morning. Get it to me. I run it through our process internally, and it's done by the end of the day. Now, I can't do that for 100 deals in a day, but I can get that done. Whereas maybe some competitors, they don't have the staffing or the ability to process it that quickly in a pinch. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes title is overlooked and, oh, man, I forgot to order it. Now the lender's looking for it. We have a rate lock. We need to get it done. So I can't tell you how many times I've been able to do that. And that's a benefit of having that direct relationship. And when I talk about searchers, I just want to talk about one thing that's related to COVID. And I talked about this earlier, where, Eric, Passaic County has been the last county to open their doors to the search community. Bergen County has been open now throughout this entire process of COVID-19, but they've had a very modified schedule from 9 to 1, and they only allowed staggered number of searchers in there for certain windows. But we've been able to get a lot of our searches completed in Bergen County fully without any issues. Essex County just reopened last week. They are on a modified schedule in Essex, where my searcher, only one searcher from each search company is allowed in at a time, 8 searchers in a 5-hour window on that particular day, and each searcher is given what's called an A or a B day, so they're staggered. Yep. They're not able to get in there every day, and so that's creating a process where it could take a little more time to get that full search done. But again, our relationship with the search community, I am able to leverage that, and if I had to get certain files completed quickly, I could do that even in this environment. But I wanted to share what Passaic County, as of today, is officially open. And it's only open on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're not open every day. There's only 8, like Essex, there's only 8 professional title searches per day for that 5-hour window.
8?
8. Only 8 at a time.
Wow.
Correct. You can't just, so a searcher can't just go in there and work for an hour and leave and let another searcher enter. Once those 8 are selected and you're going to be given your day, whether it's Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, that's what you get as a searcher.
Wow.
So these searchers are going to have obviously wear their mask, gloves, and a lot of times, and a lot of people don't realize, is when searchers have to pull deeds that are prior to what's on record 99 or late 90s, they have to pull a deed in the 80s or the 70s. They actually have to, believe it or not, physically go, and there's these big thick books, binded books that have copies of the deeds, and they have to then take that book, physically go to a copy machine and copy that deed for us. So, and imagine, they're doing that. There's 1 or 2 copy machines. There's 8 people, and everybody wants copies. So, just think about the delays that they're probably experiencing, or will experience now because of this process, to where they're limiting the number of people. And I understand this is what they have to do. Like we always talk about this new normal. Well, for the search community, with the counties now opening up, this is now the new normal for them. So like my searcher, for example, in Passaic, his first shift is he's not in there today. He's in there Friday. So it sort of limits their ability to get the searches complete. But what I can tell you, Eric, is that, because of our volume, in our relationship with the searchers, I'm able to say, hey, Ron, need you to do these 5 right away, first, and we can get it done. So I just want everyone to know that.
Nice. So it's still happening, a little bit slower than we'd like, but things are happening in all counties. If anyone has any questions, Dan, share your phone number, man. I didn't put it in there.
Sure. Yeah, please reach out to me. My number is area code 973-477-8947. Again, that's 973-477-8947. Any title-related questions you may have, any searching-related questions. If you're involved in a deal and there's any sort of title issues, I'd be more than happy to help you. Reach out to me, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Dan, I appreciate you spending some time with me. I'm going to go grab lunch. I got one more call for the day.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it, bud.
Appreciate it.
Stay safe, everybody.